So we're going to look at finding percentages of amounts without a calculator, so no calculators for this. To find percentages of amounts, we need to remember equivalent fractions. So here 100% is just the same as 100 over 100, which is a whole one. 50% is the same as 50 over 100, which is a half. So if we want to find 50% of something, we divide by 2. If we want to do 10%, find 10% of something, that's the same as 10 over 100, which is the same as 1 over 10. So to find 10%, we divide by 10. To find 5%, 5 over 100, which is the same as 1 over 20. So to find 5% of a number, we divide by 20. And finally, 1% is 1 over 100. So to find 1% of a number, we divide by 100. We can use these facts to work out any problem. There are other equivalent fractions and number facts we can use, but these really 2, 3, 4, 5 percentages, if we remember those, we can literally work out any problem. So for example, if we want to find 50% of 130, we remember that 50% is a half, so 130 divided by 2 is 65. If I wish to find 10% of 130, we remember that 10% is 1 over 10, so 130 divided by 10 is 13. Now we can combine these to find percentages, more trickier percentages. So find 60% of 160. So 60% is 50% plus 10%. So we find 50% of 160, which is 80. 10% of 160, which is 16. So adding them together, 60% of 160 is 96. Here in our final example, we have 24% of 160. So 24% is 10% plus 10% plus 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. 10% of 160 equals 16. 10% of 160 is 16, so that's 20%. Then 4 1%, which is 1.6. Combining them together, so 24% of 160 is 38.4. There are other ways we could do that 24%. Are there other number facts we could use to make that simpler? We might want to think about how we could find an equivalent fraction for 25%, for example, but I'll leave that one up to you to try and make your life easier. So that is how we can use 3, 4, 5 different percentages, remembering them, to use our brains instead of our calculators to find the percentage of any amount. I hope this is helpful.